Okay, guys, I got All the World's Monsters out here from 1979, I do believe. Yep, by Chaosum. Put together by Jeff Pimper and Steve Perrin. And so I've got another oldie, and I thought I'd look at something a bit different. The Archer Bush. It's a plant. This was submitted by Kay Jones, so that's the gentleman who worked up the stats. And remember, this is 1979 style of gameplay, so you might have to adjust a lot of these stats to represent a more modern version of this in your games, okay, and appropriate for your system. Hit dice 2d8, armor class 8, move is 0, it don't move. IQ range is 0, dexterity range 12. Found in open woods. Okay, lair 100%, number 2d20. Probability of treasuring type is 50%. H coins, D gems and magic. Attacks 50 to 100 needles. 1 point plus poison, see below. So each needle, 1 point hit point for a hit point system, and you got poison to deal with. Description: about 10 feet high with a slender trunk and many branches. Each bush has 50 to 100 needles, which can be fired in bunches of 30 to 40 at a time. Their hit probability is that of a light bow fired by an 8th level fighter of average dexterity. In addition to the 1 point of hit damage, each needle contains a neurotoxin. The victim must make his save versus poison or die. If the save is made, he still takes half damage. Half is remaining hit points. The treasure is 50% per 15 bushes. They would be planted around the treasure as guardians. This comes from Symbiotica by Eric Frank Russell. Okay, so let's discuss. Plants in fantasy role-playing games and even in sci-fi games probably aren't used as much as they should be. I'm just saying. It's a tendency to have the flora be very benign and earth-like, unless, of course, you need a poison. Then once in a while you get a monster. Then this classifies as a monster because it can do stuff to people a bit more actively. But those tend to be very specific plants, if we will, plant monsters, and that's what we get. I'm not saying I don't like ints. I'm just saying that tends to be what we get. Okay, so first off, let's talk about where this comes from. It comes from obviously a story, because I gave the author's name. That appears to be, it's not a story I've read, I just realized, so I went and looked it up. It appears to be a sci-fi story. So right now the fantasy people are going, sci-fi, no, lots of stuff made into fantasy role-playing games like D&D or Pathfinder or any plethora of other ones that came later from the sci-fi world. So just because the source is sci-fi, don't discount it. Consider how you could use that, how you could fit it in. But, the humans are exploring some planet, and it's all nice, and the planet seems wonderful, and then they find out about things like this particular tree here, the Archer Bush. So think about how that would fit into your world, how it would be used. Now, they give an example here for fantasy setting. It's going to protect treasures. Okay, even in a sci-fi setting, it could be used as a form of protection. You don't want people entering an area, a bunch of deadly trees, bushes and stuff is a way to do it, right? Very reminiscent of good old-fashioned Pulp Fiction there. So you could have that in a more of your space opera game just as easily as you could have it in a Gamma World game or type game, Apocalypse with mutants and everything. Or you could even have it in a superhero game. Maybe some mad scientists, the DARPA project or something, you don't know. Or maybe just like humans are randomly mutating, maybe plants are too. Maybe the whole planet's randomly mutating. There's a thought for your superhero X-Men type games. Or, a fantasy setting. Is this something that's natural to the planet? Is it something that was created? And if so, how? Is this an alien plant that's been imported and dropped into a different ecological niche on a world? Did it escape from a crashed spaceship? There's a few of those on more than one fantasy planet. So these are things that you can play with and work with. And flora, for the most part, I think it's overlooked. Fauna, no problem. I mean, people are making dire kittens and miniature psychic alligators with 8 legs that, I don't know, belch acid, whatever. No problem. When it comes to plants, people are like, well, we got a few. No, plants could be incredibly deadly. Even if everything looks mellow. Remember that one Star Trek episode where they find Eden? Everything's on that planet is toxic. Okay. It could be a problem. Like if the PCs go through a portal and they pop out on a planet like that, where, there doesn't seem to be any insect or animal life, but man, plants everywhere. But then the question is, what are the plants so poisonous and like that made them be like that? Usually there's something eating them, right? So that should be a clue that there's actually some kind of other life on that planet. It's just apparently, maybe it's a little bit more immune to poison, or maybe it's nourished by the thing that kills everybody else, right? Like the PCs. So these are things you think about when you look at the ecology of a monster and how you're going to use it. If you want to think past, oh, that's just cool. I mean, I'll admit, sometimes I just put stuff in games because it's just cool. Worry about the ecology later, right? And every game master has done that. I'm going to be honest with you. Every game master has done that. Very few sit around and try to figure out in detail the ecology of a monster until much later. So it's okay if you've done that. It's okay. And you don't ever have to figure out the ecology of a monster either. But I thought this was cool. A neat new trap. Because the whole game's a trap. Remember, people, it's a trap. The whole thing, it's a trap. And something to play with. So, happy Monster Monday. Happy Monday. Have a good Monday. Hope everyone's doing well. And bye.